Buongiorno a tutti. Buon Natale. This is my Christmas message for 2024. It's for all my friends and followers around the world. It's meant for everyone, but especially for 4 of my dear friends, Teresa, Galina, Sharon and Giuseppe. You know who you are and why I'm singling you out. I hope you're listening today. In remembrance of Matteo. Almost 10 years ago now, I was hired to help create an audiobook here in Bologna. The project was designed to teach Italian children to speak the English language. It was a great deal of fun, and I was honored to have been asked. Lucio, the project director, was a very, very good man and ended up being very kind to me. The experience was rewarding in quite a few other ways as well, not least of which was the young couple that Diana and I met. My message today deals with them, Daniela and Matteo. After you listen to this, you may think it's rather sad, perhaps even morbid topic to be discussing this close to Christmas, but it isn't. I'm hoping you'll see past the obvious sadness and take hold of the beautiful lesson that can be learned. Let me tell you a little bit about this wonderful couple. Matteo was a young Italian man when I first met him, middle 30s, immensely talented, a fine journalist, an accomplished independent filmmaker. He was strong, handsome, virile, and filled with a love of life, optimism, humor, and a very healthy and very admirable sense of self-confidence. He had a clear vision of what he wanted out of his life, and he was going for it. I actually met him through one of the other readers, a young American woman from California who had been likewise asked to lend her distinctly American accent to the audiobook. She'd brought him along for her reading sessions, just as I had brought Diana along for mine. Daniela was her name, and she was young and innocent and beautiful, reminding me so very much of Liv Tyler's character in the movie Stealing Beauty. If you haven't seen this fabulous Bernardo Bertolucci film, you simply must find it. It was filmed in Tuscany, and it's an English language film. Now, in real life, Daniela had fallen madly in love with this vibrant, young Italian man, and you didn't need to spend more than 5 minutes in their company to realize the depth and the breadth of their love and their immense commitment to one another. I remember thinking to myself how much the two of them reminded me of Diana and me in that regard. Now, I would never betray a confidence, and wanting to respect their privacy, I choose not to go into any personal details about them, but I do want you to know this. This young, incredible couple overcame seemingly insurmountable obstacles and difficulties to be together, fighting 2 separate government bureaucracies, forced separations, intercontinental flights, just to mention a few. The fact that they could even meet one another, let alone fall in love, get married, and make it work, defied the odds and stands in testimony to their incredible zeal for life and their faith in love. One day, a few years ago, I received a phone call from Daniela. In a very somber voice, she told me that Matteo was in the latter stages of bone and brain cancer. Barring a miracle of some kind, she said to me, he has little chance of celebrating his 37th Christmas. I don't know why I felt I should tell you this. He always liked you, Giacomino. He always talked about you. He respected you a great deal. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I wanted to do something, anything I could, anything to help. But Daniela said there was really nothing to be done. Matteo has hunkered down, she said. He's dealing with this in a very private and very personal way. So, of course, out of respect for his choice, I stood back. I'm sad to say that no miracle was forthcoming. The world lost another brilliant soul. Losing Matteo made no sense to me, or the countless people who loved him and called him friend. It surpassed what I would call a tragedy or a shame. It almost seemed criminal. What one wants to ask oneself at first is this: what kind of a loving, all-powerful, and merciful God would not spare such a kind, loving, and gentle soul? What kind of a cruel creator would make one of his own creations suffer such an indescribably painful and sad death? Yes, that should be one's first reaction. It certainly was mine. Matteo's death caused many of us who loved and respected him to become angry and skeptical. Angry with this arrogant God who would not, or perhaps could not, spare him. Skeptical of the efficacy of praying to such a cruel and uncaring deity. Only God himself knows the final tally of how many hours and tons of prayers were offered up, asking for just one simple miracle. But as I said, no miracles were forthcoming. It's as if this God had simply turned his back on Matteo and went on with more pressing issues. This alone should give us reasons and license to bring our doubt for the world to see. Shouldn't it? And as I said, it certainly did for me. Yet, incredibly, it didn't do such a thing to Daniela. Yes, she was deeply saddened. Yes, her loss was incalculable. Yes, she will never be the same again. But if there's one thing that she'd learned from that sweet man in the short years they'd spent together, it was carpe diem, the art of seizing and living in the moment. He seemed quite adept and proficient at it, as a matter of fact, and no doubt, due to their closeness and their intimacy, it rubbed off on her. Daniela understood that God had nothing, absolutely nothing, to do with her Matteo's death. He neither sentenced him, nor could he save him. God didn't choose him to have this cancer. For whatever reason, Matteo's cells kept growing past the point where they were designed to stop. They grew into monsters, then ended up taking his life. She understood that no amount of praying was going to change Matteo's fate. Only Matteo was capable of that. I'm sad to say that, for whatever reason, he wasn't able. She understood no one was being punished. This was simply what happens in life. She accepted that birth and death are not beginning and end. They are simply continuations. After his passing, Daniela was understandably silent. She did post a few comments on her Facebook page, though, comments that makes me believe she got it, that she knows what an extreme blessing and privilege it was for her to have met, fallen in love with, married, and spent so many of her days with such a sweet, beautiful, and gentle man. She will survive this, and with time, she will be all the stronger and wiser for it. And this is what I want to talk about with all of you today. This is what I want to remind my 4 friends that I mentioned in my opening paragraph about. I want to talk about it because so many of my other friends, many of you who read my missives from time to time, are facing your first or perhaps yet another Christmas without that perfect someone that you loved so very much. Today's message is for you too. You don't thank me, but you thank my friend Matteo. In the beginning, grief is like a fog, a thick, dense, never-ending barrier between you and the world as you once knew it. You're told by very well-meaning people that it will lift at some point in time, as all fogs tend to do. But after the days and then weeks and months that go by, spent under its heavy cloak, you begin to wonder if it's ever going to leave you, or if it's becoming a part of your everyday life. More than anything else, you just want to feel normal again, whatever normal may mean. Yet, you find the simplicity of a normal existence elusive, if not unfathomable. You may have concluded it isn't possible. But then one day you wake and you look around and you realize you can see a little further out in front of you than you could the day before. Things are more colorful. They're becoming clearer. Your days start getting a little easier. Your nights a bit less restless. Not restful, better than they were. The tears are fewer and further between, and things like laughter, joy, and gratitude are slowly, once again, becoming a part of your emotional repertoire. The smallest sliver of light cuts into the darkness, and you realize that this must be what healing from grief looks and feels like. But grief's a funny thing, you know. We desperately want it to go away, except for those times when we don't want it to go away. And then it comes back with a vengeance. It's common to feel conflicted about feeling better, and although it may not seem rational, it's also common to gravitate towards the pain. When it feels like the alternative to feeling pain is losing connection to the person we've lost, well, what other choice do we have? I suspect that the answer to that question will be personal and specific to you. But here's what I would suggest after having been through this myself. Remember, your loved one's memory doesn't live in the pain of your grief. Listen to that again. Your loved one's memory does not live in the pain of your grief. Then where, you might ask, does it live? Now, as cliche as this may sound, their memory lives within you. It lives in the stories that you tell people about them. It lives in the memories you share together with friends and family. It lives in the things you do that they taught you to do. It lives in the things you say in their honor and their memory. It lives in every silly little thing you do to stay connected to them. Embrace the idea that as your pain diminishes, you may actually find more ways to stay connected to them and to keep their memory alive. This connection will end up replacing your grief. Soon, grief's visits will become less frequent, not as harsh. You can and you will make normal a part of your daily life again. You can and you will go on living and dreaming, even with a broken heart. Don't allow the things that you lose in this life to take away your ability to enjoy the things that remain. Diana, Meg, and I truly and sincerely wish for all of you only the deepest love, the most immense peace, the purest happiness, and the greatest of success. Buon Natale, Merry Christmas.